Good morning. Welcome to the IT Savvy webinar. Today we are going to be discussing Veeam Backup for Microsoft Office 365. I am Heather Carlson, Director of Partner Management at IT Savvy, and I'm going to help moderate today's webinar. We're really excited to have everyone here, and a few housekeeping items before we get started. Please be sure to keep an eye on the presentation. There will be a few polls throughout that we'd love to have you provide input on. All attendees will be muted during the presentation, so please submit any questions through the QA box only, as we will not be utilizing the chat section. And we'll do our best to get them answered by the end of the presentation. With that being said, I'd like to introduce our presenters for today. Blake Brockdorf from Veeam and Joe Yano from IT Savvy. Blake is the Technical Partner Manager for the System Engineering Group at Veeam, and Joe is our Executive Vice President of the Advanced Solutions Group here at IT Savvy. Thank you, and I'm going to hand it off to Blake.
Thank you, Heather, and thank you everybody for joining us today. As she mentioned, we're going to talk about Veeam Backup for Office 365 and why it is relevant for you. And with that, we're going to jump right into it. The first thing that we're going to want to talk about today is why we're even here, and that is that there's challenges that we face every day when it comes to taking care of our data. And one of the big ones is our need for industry compliances. Depending on your industry, it could be, again, like it says here, SEC, HIPAA, could be legal. Big challenge in point-in-time restores. Sometimes it isn't always what was the latest copy. It could be what was our data like last week, or something that was deleted a month or two ago. Malware, especially things like ransomware and so on, is really prevalent in today's world. Our society is plagued with a lot of that, so this is something that, data integrity is a big challenge for us. Also data loss, we're going to talk about that today. But the big one here is financial impact and understanding that it's not always just a business down situation. It can be potential liabilities for not being able to protect the integrity of even your own customers that you guys have. And being able to provide their data when they need it, access to their information and so on, and just being prepared for any type of a disaster or any of the other challenges that we just previously mentioned. So to address these things, our plan today is to talk about why do you need backup for Office 365, for Microsoft's Office 365? What does Veeam, which I'm going to refer to as VBO, the Veeam Backup for Office 365, what does it provide, and how does it meet your needs, and how? So why? Big thing to start with. Why do I need to back up Microsoft Office 365? Well, first of all, the big thing that comes out of everything that we consider to be the biggest misunderstanding in the Office 365 market today, and for us, it's absolutely staggering, and that is that Microsoft takes care of it. Once it's in the cloud, there's no problem. Well, the reality about all of this is that Microsoft does not actually take care of it, and we're going to talk about why here in just a moment. Microsoft takes care of the infrastructure, but the data is your responsibility. And let me show you what that looks like. So we have what's called the Office 365 shared responsibility model. It's important to understand that there's primary responsibilities that exist when you purchase a service, and there's an outlined set of parameters of what they are expected to provide and what your responsibilities are in utilizing that service. And from Microsoft's point of view, they are there to provide a global infrastructure, and their guarantee to you is that that infrastructure, that uptime, has that 9995 uptime requirement that they're giving you an SLA on. But it's your responsibility for access and control of the data that you have within Office 365. It's not their data to begin with, so they see it as your responsibility to take care of your data. You're just utilizing their service. So with that, Microsoft does have some replication technology, moving your data from one data center to another, but that isn't any kind of a backup, and it's a real-time or pretty close to real-time replication of what's live in your Office 365 tenant at that time. And the purpose of that replication for them is not for you to be able to access it; it's to help guarantee that SLA that they have. So that if something goes wrong in a data center, they can make sure that your email and other files and so on are still accessible in other ways from another area, and to be completely transparent to you. So that means it's your responsibility for you to actually be able to back up that Office 365 data and have it stored in a different location. They do have a recycle bin. It's a limited short-term recycle bin. By default, the Office 365 tenants are set to 14 days, and it can be extended to 30. But with that, there's no point in time recovery. I understand that the recycle bin is limited to when your users at your locations empty their recycle bins out. It goes into what's called a permanently deleted items section. And this is an area that the users themselves can retrieve the data from, but they can also purge that themselves. And if they purge that, and there's definitely users that do it, if they purge that, then Microsoft will not be able to get that data back to you. So this goes back to your responsibility of having that backup and being able to have that full data retention, both for short-term and long-term gaps, and being able to provide that point-in-time recovery should it arise. From a security point of view, they're again providing data centers that are taking care of physical security. Nobody's going to come in and walk away with the storage drives. They give you access to user and admin controls and things of that nature, and they're taking care of the networking traffic and so on. But again, it's your responsibility to worry about accidental deletions and the potential insiders or ransomware. Believe it or not, Office 365 is now subject to ransomware as it unfortunately continues to evolve. And then there's the legal aspect of all of it. I mean, with all of these different industries, regardless of how small or large they are, you got to draw a line in the sand somewhere. And Microsoft draws it and says, look, we're a data processor, so we can look at privacy and regulatory stuff and so on. But they look at you and say, it's your data, so you're the data owner. So it's your responsibility to make sure that you've set up things to be secure in your environment, that you're meeting your regulations how you need to. So Microsoft themselves, pardon me, Microsoft themselves presents this in their own TechNet and here in their Trust Center, letting you know that right off the bat, it's right at the top there. With Office 365, it's your data, you own it, you control it. They're one of the few companies out there that are actually standing up and have long time lawsuits even against the government stating we will not access their information, will not give it to you, we don't want to. If you want their data, you go talk to the company themselves. So they not only don't control your data, they don't want access to it. Further, they also let us know in their TechNet articles that point-in-time restoration of their mailbox items and so on is out of scope for them. If you contact their support, they're not there to give you that return because it's back to the idea of it's your data and you own it. So with that, we're actually going to jump to our first poll. So I hope that everybody's ready for this. You're going to only get one answer available to you. Just please select the one that is most relevant to you, while others may apply. So with this, we want to know what forms of data loss have you potentially experienced within the cloud? Not necessarily anywhere else, but within the cloud. If you're not in the cloud yet, please select the one that does apply most to you. And we're going to let this go for about a minute. Got about another 15, 20 seconds here. Let everybody finish getting voted. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close this out here then, and we'll share what we've got. So according to our results here, it looks like we've got the 59% for user error and accidental deletion. Not too surprising. We're about to see some more information about that. Security threats have happened. Good to know. Retention policy gaps. Awesome. We're going to talk about that at 15%. And then some other losses. Makes sense. And it's in the cloud, so it's already protected. I'm glad to actually see a few of those because we're going to talk about that some more. So these questions actually came from a survey that's been conducted every year. And of April of this year, we got the results that came in. And I wanted to give you guys a chance to answer that particular poll because to compare it to what we see here. So with this, you may notice that we had 59% showed user error and accidental deletion. It was 9% for security threats and about 15% for retention policy gaps, and then there was the other. But if you kind of compare the percentages there versus the others, we find that it looks like you guys are on board with our survey results. So good to know what's going on there. So let's start here by talking about that accidental deletion and the retention gaps. What exactly does Microsoft Backup and how does it work? Well, one of the big things for us, like I talked about, is that in our deleted items, once we get to that permanently deleted items folder especially, is that it's gone at a maximum of 30 days. The default is 14 days, and most customers don't know that they can even make that change. SharePoint items and OneDrive items included, that it's possible to pull them back from that permanently deleted items during after the 1 month. Again, it's not a point in time restore, but they do go into a permanently deleted status. And same thing if an employee leaves the company. Once you take that Office 365 license away from them, that mailbox is purged within 30 days. So what's important to understand is that permanently deleted means it's truly gone from Microsoft and there's no getting it back from them. And this report here, this statement about the average length of time from data compromise to discovery is over 140 days. That comes directly from Microsoft. That is out of one of their released reports of what they have found that has gone on, which right there states what the challenge is for us. And let's talk about some of their features, and let's understand that first of all, we love that Microsoft is here to provide this service, and so that we can also provide this product. But it's also important to remember that Microsoft isn't the data owner. I talked a lot about that. The other thing I want to really touch on here, because it was on the previous slide talking about archiving, and it seemed to go on and on, is that the archiving feature is not backup in Office 365. It's simply the idea of older data being put on a secondary storage type of location, which is actually what happens in Office 365. By default, provided you've turned on archiving, anything older than 2 years is automatically moved, meaning it's no longer in your inbox anymore. It's actually in what they call the archive, meaning there's no copy of the data. It's not an additional copy of that data. It is just older data that's being moved. Backup is an actual copy. The replication we talked about with Microsoft, that's for their SLA. And it's being from the single source, whether it's deleted or corrupted, whether it's ransomware or not. And this particular feature, the litigation hold, also called in place hold and so on, again, this is just making sure that that single copy of the data that they have, that inbox and archive that we were just talking about, that data, when you turn on litigation hold and so on, when they delete the email, the email is just hidden from them. A hidden file attribute is added to them, and it stays in that same place. And I'll be perfectly honest. We like litigation hold. It's a great tool to use within Microsoft to be able to retain that additional information that happens in between backups, so that when we take the backup of that, we can actually get those additional items so that same day items are not lost. So with Veeam, when doing so, I'm hoping you're gathering onto the idea we're putting you in charge of your data, and making sure you have control and access to it. Where backup is, it's not archived. Uh, the separate copy of a data allows you to have other point in time restore options, which is protection against deletion, corruption, or security threats. Having a separate backup repository fits every backup rule that we have. And we're going to talk about some industry leading recovery that we have. And it's also important to understand, actually, this number needs to be updated. At this point, over 80,000 organizations have chosen Veeam to have Veeam for Office 365 backup. Going further, when we look at what's going on in the cloud, there's many reports out there, and this was one of the more recent ones that Veeam did commission to make sure that we weren't blowing a lot of smoke, and that was that there's a common misconception that software as a service data in the cloud is inherently safe. It is proving to be extremely reliable, but at the same time, there's still other challenges, and even you guys at 59% said user error and accidental deletion is a big piece. So it's not even always about safety, it's also about making sure you protect yourself against your users, as well as being concerned about compliances. And to understand the types of organizations who find this serious as far as compliance and so on, this is an example of customers who are VBO, who own VBO today. And the purpose of showing you this slide is to understand the breadth of different industries, everything from hospitals to governments to manufacturing and so on here, that are all have chosen to have VBO to be able to protect their environment and meet their compliances and make sure that their environments are protected. They found this to be extremely important, including airports. So with this, when you consider it, you do have some options to be able to securely back up your Office 365 to any location. It's important to understand with VBO that you are able to back up your information, your data, to on-premises or in the cloud, and be able to do so even through IT Savvy's cloud solutions. Be able to protect your data from accidental deletion, retention gaps, and even the security threats. Being able to quickly restore those files and being able to meet legal and compliance requirements. So the idea here is we're looking to eliminate the risk that we talked about by providing backup for Exchange Online, your SharePoint, OneDrive, and Microsoft Teams. That way you're always protected and accessible to that. Microsoft Office 365 may have eliminated your need to host your own infrastructure, but it has not replaced the need for you to have a backup of your data. So this eye chart is not meant for you to squint your eyes and lean in and read each of the piece. It's to demonstrate that with VBO, if you're familiar with Veeam at all, we're known for having all of our different restore options that are there, and VBO does not disappoint. With this, we have 25 different unique ways at this point to restore your different types of data from Exchange, SharePoint, OneDrive, and Teams. It's important to understand that we're able to restore this in an encrypted and secure manner. This doesn't require, while we can do PST outputs, we do not require that to be done. We can restore right back into the individual mailbox. We can do a single item. We can email items as an attachment, or restore entire mailboxes. So with this, we also looked at it and said it's not just about backup and restoration. It's also important to be able to see what's going on in the environment. So we also include some visibility and analytics to give you some protection reports depending on the size of your company. We also take and are able to identify unprotected mailboxes, which could be huge, especially if you have a bit of churn that goes on a regular basis. And then we also include mailbox protection reports that include looking at different types of even equipment, shared mailboxes, how your licenses are used, and so on. Because our product is not an appliance of any kind, that you can install our product in the cloud running, for example, say in Azure or on-premise, or if you want to back this up to an on-premise premise device such as a NAS or other type of secondary storage, or if you want to push it into IT Savvy's cloud, that we provide, because of this, a storage consumption report that looks at the different repositories you have made, and we're able to look at growth rates, change rates, what you're doing in usage. The idea from this is to be able to help you budget for potential cloud consumption, and as well as maybe needing to purchase additional storage on-prem if that's how you're choosing to store it. Also, as a product, it's important to understand we did release this product originally in 2016, but each release has come less than a year after the next one with continued advancements. And these advancements are all coming from feedback from our customers and our partners who resell our product and so on, to be able to put things in there that benefit you. And at the same time, especially when we jumped on it with our V3 release in April of this year, all of those particular enhancements came because Microsoft actually made it possible for us to access that through their APIs. And we're excited to announce that we're keeping up with this trend because version 4 just released a few weeks ago, and we're going to talk a little more about what's new in version 4. So our backups have gotten even faster. They got faster in version 3 with our access to change block tracking, and we got even faster now with our ability to be able to include additional backup accounts. Microsoft has different things in place to protect their bandwidth to make sure that they can provide service to everyone. So that can sometimes slow down our backups, and we're now able to operate auxiliary backup accounts within our product to be able to continue to maintain a speedy backup process. We're also always continuing to increase security. We announced support for multi-factor authentication in version 3, and the modern authentication method that is built into Office 365 and support for it. We have in-flight and now at-rest encryption, 256-bit, which is important for a lot of compliance purposes. And our credential manager is fully encrypted for cloud and local passwords. The other big piece that we announced, as far as what you would like to take care of, where Veeam is all about flexibility and choices. And so the big thing that we were excited to announce was our support for object-based storage, so that you're not looking to necessarily use just hot storage if you're choosing to store it in the cloud. This helps you reduce storage costs and so on. But this also doesn't just include Azure and such as AWS's S3 and so on. This could be literally any S3 compatible storage systems, like in the others that are on here, and IT Savvy may be able to provide that for you as well, as far as a place to base that off. And as Veeam always likes to say, we always have more. So VBO is not just an Office 365 backup solution. Office 365, or backup for Office 365, can also back up any on-premise Exchange and SharePoint instances that are 2013 or newer. It also allows us to take and protect hybrid environments for both Exchange and SharePoint between Office 365. It also gives you the ability to migrate that mailbox data to and from, if you needed to, from an on-premise to Office 365 and back. We can also have multiple tenants in the VBO instance, meaning you could have multiple Office 365 organizations along with an on-premise tenant. This is especially important for robo situations or remote office, branch office situations, or even an acquisition type of scenario. What if you acquire another company and they're already in Office 365? Well, guess what? You can pull them right into the VBO tenant, and we'd be able to back them up as well. And for bonus points, you would be able to actually, if you needed to, restore data from one organization into the other, essentially being able to also do a migration of one Office 365 tenant and organization to the other. So now it's time for our next poll. So it's a great opportunity to grab a cup of coffee as well as after you answer our question. So we're going to talk about on this poll, understanding what your primary protection strategy is today for Office 365. What do you do today? We're going to take about a minute, minute and a half here and let you vote while you sip your coffee, and we'll show you the results here in a moment. About another 15 seconds here. Maybe we can get some more votes in. All right, about another 5 seconds. All right. So some interesting results here as far as what's going on there. So about 21% of you do not back up the data. 28 rely on the native tools. Wow, it's exciting to see 28% are using VBO. Very excited to hear that. And 24% of you are using another backup solution. First of all, congratulations for using one. We're very excited to see that. Hopefully, through the course of today, maybe we can sway you to give VBO a try. So let me show you the reason why here, why we wanted to have you take this poll, is that, again, following back on what we've done in the past from those surveys is we looked at what other organizations have done for their primary protection strategy. And out of this, as you can see, the top one is about 19% rely on Microsoft and their native tools. About 55% do not back up their data. About 13% are using VBO and so on. And then we have the rest that make up another solution. So what's interesting about this survey is that the last couple of years, this has been about what the responses have been. But what's important to note is about 3 and 4 years ago, the top two items on choices on this list actually were flip-flopped. It used to be a much greater percentage relied on Microsoft's tools, and it was a small percentage who believed they weren't backing up their data because they believed Microsoft had it taken care of. And as the education has come out to the public on these types of scenarios, this switched back. It's interesting here to see the slight difference in that we have a smaller percentage here that say they do not back up their Office 365 data, while a larger percentage say they rely on their native tools. But this is what we pulled in from a lot of responses there. So it's good to understand that we look at it and say we consider about 74% of businesses out there that are left unprotected. It's also crazy to think that as of a couple months ago, when numbers came out, there's about 180 million users in Office 365 today. And it's kind of scary to think that about 74%, 75% of those are not protected. So when you start thinking about this, you might really be considering, well, VBO could be the way to go. What's nice about Veeam is we like to keep it simple. With that, we have just a one SKU type of scenario that we present, and that is you either have it or you don't. Our licensing is very simple. You get a license for VBO and it just unlocks all of the features. So you've got protection for Exchange, SharePoint, OneDrive, and Teams. We don't license anything based on capacity or anything of that nature. Just all included into one solution. And we do offer, for those of you out there with smaller businesses, we offer a community edition. This is a fully functional version for you. It does come with email support, and this is for companies that have up to 10 users and a terabyte of SharePoint data. Otherwise, it takes care of everything that's there. This was our gift back to the community. As far as they go, this is not a trial. It's a true functioning version. So again, keeping it simple. And it's also important to look at it that the way we license the same way that Microsoft does, meaning if the mailbox is required, or the mailbox, SharePoint, OneDrive, and so on is required to have a license, such as an individual user, then you're required to have a Veeam license for them. So if they need an E3, they need a Veeam license. If the data that needs to be backed up doesn't require a license, such as a shared mailbox and so on, then then a Veeam license is not required for that, and we would still be protecting it. Now, with that, how to purchase it? There's two different ways to be able to get it from IT Savvy here. The first one is through Veeam's Veeam Cloud Service Provider program. This is a monthly billing option for those of you who are looking to go month to month, that you have some frequent scaling up and down of your licenses. Again, this is kind of lined up pretty well one-to-one with Microsoft's CSP program and how you're able to purchase that from IT Savvy. This has obviously lower upfront investment depending on the arrangements you make. Pairs well with a lot of the smaller clients that are out there, or customers who perhaps have seasonal employment even, and your licenses frequently change, and that's your challenge, or you just need that month-to-month option. The other is our traditional type of selling model, our annual subscription. If you're familiar with the rest of our products, how we sell. This is an annual billing option with options of 1 to 5 years. We do have multi-year pricing discounts. So again, VCSP, you have lower upfront, but with our annual, you may also be able to take advantage of some pricing discounts overall. We will add additional license without any penalty and co-term it for you. This is typically goes well with companies who have a good pool of licenses. It's not extremely important for them to manage month to month, that perhaps that 10, 12 license change or so on, because they know that it's going to be utilized anyway. The idea here is that these two options provide whatever fits well with your company and how you guys choose to manage your business. IT Savvy offers you both of these different ways through Veeam to be able to purchase all of this. So with this, as you dive into all of this stuff, I actually am going to hand it over to Joe so that he can talk to you about the services that IT Savvy brings to you once you actually purchase all of this and move forward. Joe?
Thank you, Blake. IT Savvy is a trusted partner to work with for supporting our clients' data protection strategies. We have a number of value-added services and capabilities that support client needs. Our Advanced Solutions Group is composed of architects and engineering leadership who have experience in solution integration, complex IT environments, and more importantly, understanding clients' and state objectives. At the front end, we plan for benefits realization for clients by beginning with the assessments of the client's organization's backup strategy, the configurations, any interdependencies and workloads. Not only is this about solution sizing and specifications, but more importantly, it's ensuring that our clients yield expected solution benefits and technology fit for their organizations that they support. This is not solely about a Veeam conversation as a solution. Our team of solution architects and engineers that can design and execute for hybrid cloud infrastructure strategy. If you wish the backup targets were in public, private, hybrid cloud solutions, or even design an elastic solution that can increase or decrease based on the pace of the client's business and demand, we can help implement technology plan to accommodate those business needs. One of the benefits of IT Savvy being your Veeam partner is that we're also maintaining advanced partner status for numerous technology vendors, including a gold level partner for Microsoft Cloud Solutions, our cloud platform, and cloud productivity competencies with Microsoft. We have a team of professional services and technology leadership that can perform your Office 365 migration if you're currently on-prem and desire to go to Office 365, so that you can have the full, complete solution with one partner, one provider, one monthly invoice for Office 365 workloads and data protection. Moving on to the next slide of value-added services with IT Savvy. This conversation is about data protection, but if you wish to learn more about securing your Office 365 workloads, we can advise on a variety of solutions that would be most effective for your organization. If the clients desire to minimize capital expenditure for infrastructure needs, IT Savvy can also help. We can host backup workloads on our own cloud infrastructure if it wasn't desired to be on AWS or Azure through our Savvy Backup solution offering. Or if you were having challenges with your existing backup infrastructure and wished IT Savvy to manage the solution on 24/7, 365, we can offer as a managed service as well through our Savvy Guard operation. These value-added services support IT Savvy as a partner that can help enable our clients' success, their technology strategy for data protection needs, be it advisory services, technology and infrastructure, cloud, or managed support and enablement capabilities. These value-added capabilities, they're about everything else that helps realize client peace of mind that their information assets are protected. I'm moving on to the next slide here, Blake, and wondering if you could share about the trial download here for 30 days.
Yeah, you bet, Joe. So, and that's exactly what we have available. Veeam offers VBO available to anyone, free for 30 days. The direct link is right there down below. Try it out for yourself. One of the things we love about this product is, just like our other Veeam products, is it's extremely intuitive. It's super easy to install. It's a small install package for such a robust product. Easy to walk through and add what you need to. There's not a ton of mystery to doing it, so there's a nice, very low learning curve here as far as getting this done. So we encourage you to give it a try, and of course, as Joe was just talking about IT Savvy and their services, they would be happy to assist you with that, even in potentially doing like a proof of concept. And that type of thing to see if this is actually something that's even right for you in your environment. So with that, we actually would like to jump into our third poll. So hoping everybody's been sticking with us so far. This poll here is going to talk about an idea. The question to you, or the statement, the thought in your head is, my Office 365 data needs to be protected. Think of this as like a true and false, only you have different options. So what do you think? Does Microsoft still have you covered in the cloud? Do you think VPO is something that you really would like to go for and maybe work with IT Savvy and do something here? Or have you learned here and you like that you do need to protect it, but maybe you want to shop a few things first? And we'll give you about another 45 seconds. Okay, gonna about close it in here just a moment. If you want to still get your vote in. All righty. Okay. So we have 11% that says Microsoft has you covered. All right. 50% of you would like to connect with IT Savvy to review VBO and check it out. That's exciting news certainly for us. And then the 39% say you agree, but you'd like to check out other products first. And with that, I would say definitely talk to IT Savvy about that as well. You know, Just so you know, from Veeam, we're not afraid of also, being compared to the competition and so on. That's what they're there for. We like some fair play and the opportunity to potentially do a proof of concept. And to be able to do that, switch screens. There we go. To be able to move forward, make sure that who do you contact? If you don't have an IT client executive already, then there's some options for you there to contact them at info@itsavvy.com or to give them a call at the phone number listed there, and they'll be happy to get you one. So with that, I think Heather was watching for if there was any questions for us today. If you have any, we do have some time to be able to answer anything that you have at this point, either Joe or I. Heather, do we have any questions?
Yeah, well, the one question I did respond to all, I'm not sure if everyone's reviewing that section, but I was asked if they could get a copy of the PowerPoint. We are recording this, and following the presentation, if you would like a recording and or the PowerPoint PDF, we can provide that to you. If you want to reach out to your IT Savvy account client executive, or you can email us at info@itsavvy.com and I will get that over to you. As for other questions, I just see one question that asking, is there multi-tenancy yet?
Depends on what we're meaning about multi-tenancy. So you can definitely have multiple organizations in the VBO product. So that can be multiple Office 365 organizations that are not even connected to each other, along with on-premise environments of Exchange and SharePoint and so on. So there's definitely an opportunity in the product to be able to host multiple organizations. So in that respect, I would say it's multi-tenant.
Okay, thank you. And we have another one that just came in. Can we transfer our current ArcMail emails to Veeam?
So not exact. Again, a little more clarification would help for that question. And I would encourage him to reach out to us for additional information as far as what it means by transfer, in that we can back up. We back up the data from the live environments into Veeam from Exchange, both on premise and in Office 365. So in that respect, we definitely take emails in.
Okay. And then we just got in another one just asking if there's just any more context you could provide around security functions of Veeam.
Well, the big thing that I like about them, first of all, are connections to the Office 365 environment is that is encrypted and secured. When we're backing it up, also in place, so in-flight encryption's in place. In-place encryption exists when we're utilizing object storage. So you have both in-flight and in place. We also go further with being able to have a log that takes and registers everything that the product is doing. So if somebody's accessing different emails, because when you're a backup administrator, you literally have access to everything, and in an email environment, you have access to all of the information that's in there and can restore it where you need it to go. So it's important to have security tracking to know what was opened when and how. At the same token, the different restore options that VBO offers makes it possible that when you're restoring these items, you're actually able to follow where this item goes, like a chain of custody, rather than the type of restoration items that you get or options you get out of Office 365, which requires you to export out an unencrypted PST that then has to be transferred in a way that's not secure, potentially to a computer that you have to mount to an Outlook and things of that nature. In this respect, you can maintain control of the integrity of that data and be able to show what's gone on. So in that those different options for security are pretty awesome.
Okay, great. Okay, we keep getting a few more questions in, so as long as everyone's okay with time. Why and when would it be useful replicating data to the cloud?
So difference between backup and replication for sure. I would say it's important to back up data to the cloud. It just in that following Veeam's 3-2-1 rule, you're thinking about 3 copies of your data, 2 different media types, and one of them being offsite. Depending on how you're backing up that data, if you're backing up on premise, you may want to have a copy in the cloud as your offsite. And in this scenario, there's different ways that we can take and with a VBO product help get those multiple copies in different ways using potentially a combination of on-premise, object storage, other types of storage, things of that nature. But again, redundancy, because you can't always, and unless you yourself are building the redundancy that Microsoft also has, having that in place is important for the integrity of your data, because you don't always know what could happen within your infrastructure.
Okay. I have another one that just came in saying, what is the best way to find out how much data is currently being stored in Office 365 to figure out our storage needs?
So within the Office 365 admin portal, in the actual Office 365 admin portal itself, there are reports that are in there that are available that can actually show you how much data is in there now, both for Exchange, SharePoint, and OneDrive. And if you didn't know, Teams is basically a collection of all 3 as far as where everything lives. So in that respect, you can see what the data is there, and those reports also have the ability to go back up to 6 months so that you can get an idea of what the change rate and growth has looked like, so you can get an idea for estimation. It is important to note that those change rates in there don't note the deleted data users have done on a regular basis, which obviously would be included in backups. So there's a deeper conversation that I would say contact IT Savvy when they work out those types of things with you. But if you're wanting to get just at least an idea or a picture idea, you can find it within your own Office 365 tenant.
Great. I think this is going to be the last question. How can email queries due to FOIA requests be performed?
I'm assuming FOIA is probably Freedom of Information Act.
Freedom of Information Act.
Okay.
Yeah.
So as far as those queries, we do have a pretty in-depth e-discovery process that's available. All of the backup data that we pull in all goes into a JET database, and in that database, it makes everything easily searchable using a plethora of parameters that you can come in, everything from dates, people, email contents, keywords, particular users. I mean, there's a ton of options that can be used to be able to search through the data and that's in the database to be able to pull that up. So we do have a pretty extensive e-discovery option there.
All right, great. Well, I think that is all the questions we have. So just want to thank everyone for all your questions and participation today, and especially thank Blake from Veeam for helping us put this presentation on. So if anyone has any follow-up questions, like I had mentioned earlier, and you do not know who your IT Savvy client executive is, please contact us at info@itsavvy.com. Thank you.
Thank you.